Okay, so yesterday we left at this point wherein we were talking about the prioritization techniques and what are the different factors with which we will take it up, right? So in actual scenario, okay, there is something called that we generally set up, or the recommendation of SAP Activate is to set up something called a solution standardization board. Okay, SSB. So what the responsibility, these guys are, the people from SSB, they are probably the people who are part of business operations, or let's say from the management team of the customer side. Okay, the
Okay.
reason why we set this up is, okay, the reason why I'm bringing up this topic is, you'll have to understand this on a practical ground how this happens, right? So assume you got 100 rise of objects as a requirement, and you are supposed to deliver only 50 as part of the contract before go live. So you are supposed to prioritize these 50 out of the 100 that you have as part of your list, right? How do you do is based on the questions that you have, whether what is the business value that this brings about, whether it is going to cater for larger audience, is this business having a financial implication. All these are certain things that you have to answer, such that you can decide which object to place in which bucket under MSCW. Who are the ones who will take the decision? So if this solution standardization board, wherein the customer will nominate few people who are responsible for moderating this. Otherwise, what happens is, when you are going to take 50, 60, I mean, out of 100, assume you have 20 in HR, 20 in sales. When you're going to talk to them about the 20 in HR, 20 in sales, they'll say all these are very important for my business, otherwise I cannot function, and you'll not be able to prioritize it properly. So there has to be some other parties or committees intervention, wherein they will bridge the gap between you and the business process owners, and try to moderate the priority that we are going to set for each of the object in such a way that your 50 that is needed before the go live is properly selected to cater the needs of the business. So we will always set up solution standardization board who will take care of this prioritization during the explore phase. This is one. Second thing, they will also be involved in terms of, let's say we are going to talk the business as part of HR. They are asking you for a very complicated custom solution. Then whom to go and ask? Business will for sure say, I want this for sure, you need to develop, whatever be the case. You need to take, you cannot take conversations with the same business who gave you requirements and convince them. So you will always have one more party, which is the solution standardization board, the members of that. You will take this change or requirement to them, and they will probably take up the conversation with the business. If they also feel that this is very mandatory for us to do, then we will for sure do that. If that calls for a change request and additional commercial, we'll go that route. Otherwise, if it's part of the scope and it is compulsorily needed by the business, we will proceed with the changes that is needed. Okay, these two will be the responsibility of the solution standardization board, which is uh, you know prescribed by SAP as part of SAP Activate.
Okay.
This will help you during your implementation, but not at the time of maybe the support. Mostly
Mm-hmm.
it will not be there, but there are cases where you know the operations head will be involved. I've seen few customers where you will have one person who will hold the business process. So those guys are called business process experts, business process manager. So they will hold positions as such, and when you talk to business and gather requirements, they'll also be present, and these guys will moderate between what is exactly needed to be in the system, what can be automated within the system within SAP, and what has to be taken outside of the system. So these things will be taken up by these guys during the support project mostly. Or let's say you will also have in few customer places business analyst. who will work with you. Okay, then you have a definition of done. Yeah.
Okay. Do we have business analyst in SAP as well?
No. Business analyst, as in from the customer side, maybe you will have. That is a possibility.
Okay.
But from as an implementation partner, whoever is the functional, they are the business analyst.
Okay.
Okay, so when we you have heard of this concept, definition of done before?
Definition of done.
Yeah.
No.
This is exactly the acceptance criteria.
Okay.
Okay, in agile terms, basically. So I told you QGate, you define acceptance criteria, A, B, C, D checklist. You check that and then you go for the phase closure. That's a QGate, right?
Yeah.
So in the same way, this is in specific to an activity or in specific to a user story, let's say, against a user story. So when I say as a user, I must be able to log in and look at the transactions that is posted by others in the system against company code 1000. Let's say this is the user story. What is the definition of done is, number one, I should be able to log in. Number two, I must be able to see all the company codes in this particular screen in this fashion. Number three can be, I must be able to do something with this. So if all these three activities I'm able to perform, this means that this user story is completed. So in a nutshell, whatever acceptance criteria that you have set for the particular user story, that becomes the definition of done. Okay, in agile terms, basically. Um, so that's exactly what is given here. As an agile team member and stakeholder, I need to understand when a user story is done. So assume in this sprint we are taking 5 user stories. Okay, I am releasing, I'm telling the testing team to test user story one by one. And how do they know that? How do I mark this testing as completed? That's only based on this definition of done that you have set. This definition of done is basically set by the customer business team, or let's say the product owner, along with your team, along with the development team. Okay, then as an agile team member, I need to understand how much we need to know of a user story before we take it into the sprint. So if you are not aware of the definition of done, this means that you are not completely having clarity on the functionality that you are expecting or the requirement. Right? This means whatever is not having a definition of done, there is a scope clarity that is lacking, which in turn means that we should not be taking that as part of the current sprint. Okay.
Yeah.
Then there are two things, definition of ready, definition of done. Okay, so what is definition of ready meaning? So there will be certain parameters A, B, C, D. If you say, okay, to put it in an example, if I say as a user, I want to do, I want to create an activity in this particular screen. This is the user story. What is the screen? What activity should I perform? How is the screen going to look like, the wireframe of that? Then how are we going to build? What are all the different buttons or fields that I have to put in the screen? What does it cater to? Which tables are going to get updated when I hit on save? All these are certain aspects that I need to be aware of. Right? Otherwise, you cannot proceed further. You can proceed, but it will be half cooked. So basically, whenever you're going for a project, you will always have a definition of ready, which means you will have a checklist. Number one, front end, UI wireframe. Number two, fields. Number three, integration touch points. Number four, backend tables. Number five, let's say middleware, API availability, something like this. And if these five are ready, this means that this user story is ready to be taken for development. So this is definition of ready. And definition of done is same as what we discussed previously. Okay, these two are what is generally followed as part of this thing, agile. And in our case, we usually don't have a definition of. I mean, I don't think I can relate to any activity for definition of ready. But definition of done is basically the acceptance criteria that we have set for each phase. Okay. Then definition of done is the same. You see, this is example they have given definition of ready. It's on the corporate background. Team understands the problem, why this is important. Story has been estimated. How to demo the story. Then context. What is the context? What is the acceptance criteria of the product owner? What is the acceptance criteria of the operations? So like this, we will set it for ourselves, maybe. Okay, based on the need, based on the product that we're working for. And only if all of these are clear, this means the user story is ready to be taken into the sprint. Okay, similarly, the definition of done. Software has been developed, technically correct, functionally correct, documented. It's deployed in the test environment. The operations you have from the operations, acceptance criteria. The dashboard that is built is also correctly populating. It's up to date. So if all of this is working properly, this means that we have satisfied. And this again means that you can probably mark the user story as completed once it is deployed into production. Okay, then there is something called definition of shippable. All these are very specific to Agile for SDLCs, not for this thing, definitely not for SAP. We don't usually follow this. But what we follow is something else. You have a functional specification that is to be prepared for each object, and that object, whatever test cases that you have identified, that should work fine. When all of that work fine, this means that you are ready to move that object from quality to production. So you are also typically having the same concept, but the language and the way in which you will use is going to be different in SAP. Okay. Then these are our backlog grooming sessions. It's basically you have a product backlog. Let's say you have 100, out of that, what to take, what not to take, what features can we ignore, what are all the things that has to be prioritized and released immediately. So these are all backlog grooming workshops that we will have, refinement sessions, like as they say. Okay, you're aware of this already?
Yeah, it's I find it both pretty much similar. It's just the terms which is different.
Yeah. This
SAP,
happens as part of us also. This where do you relate this? Which activity as part of SAP Activate?
this is in the in the realize, I believe.
No, and explore, when you're doing backlog prioritization,
Okay,
MSCW.
explore. Yes.
Right, in that, and also during the support phase you will have. So during the support you will get a number of requests. Not necessarily you will have to take
Yeah,
up all of those at once.
yeah, we will shortlist them. We will prioritize and then we'll work on, if there are 100, then we'll prioritize 30, 40 and we'll work on those.
You're right. Then ready user stories. This is basically what you have to do to make a user story to be ready. So it's always better. Now, if the team is working on user story number 10, and you are taking 5 user stories per sprint, this means that you need to have always the user stories ready for the next 2 sprints as a project manager and as a product owner. That's your responsibility. Otherwise, your guys will finish this. If your user story for the next 2 sprints are not ready, this means your job, I mean, your development team is not going to have a activity for the next week. So you always need to have a ready user story that will be taken up by the team for the subsequent sprints, at least for the next 2 sprints. Okay, same is the case with this. You can relate it to probably the support phase that we have, right? Today you might have 3 developers with you, and your functional team has allocated 3 objects. You know that 2 members are going to complete it today. Then what will you do? You're probably going to ask any other functional team members whether they have other objects that you can allocate to the developers, right? If they are going to be free by tomorrow. So it's the same case. Okay, then again a learning assessment which you can take later. Okay, you're aware of this iterative build, right? This is something that okay, where do we use this? Can you relate to SAP? Iterative build.
Build.
Build anyway. When do you do configuration? It's just one.
Okay, when we do configurations,
Yeah.
the first configuration is done in the explore phase, and then
No. Actual configuration for the business. When do
realize.
you do? Yeah, that's all. That's the build. So when we say build in SAP, we are never talking about the build that we are going to do for showing a demo, conducting the FTS. That's not the build. That's implementing best practices. By build it's always meaning the actual system that is going to be used by the business. Okay, then please just give me a minute. Yeah. Okay, so let me for the release planning. I see one page as blank. Okay, as I told you, do you remember this backlog? I think we spoke about it yesterday. In my backlog, I'm going to have 2 things. I will also have configuration elements that I want to do, and I will also have rise up developments. Both the things. Okay, when we talk about backlog when it comes to SAP, specific to SAP, then again pretty much it's the same thing that they are trying to say. How to establish clear priorities. You have MSCW, and not just MSCW. You have a lot of prioritization techniques. A few people they take very high, low, medium, all these, and then few people are going to take priorities based on several parameters. So they say how many users are going to use. Like I said, it all depends on the business and the context that you're going to work for, which software, what context, right? The prioritization techniques can differ. So fewer times, just because the change is going to be very simple, there are chances that you can still do that change, even though it is a would have a category. If that can be done very quickly, if you have to show some progress, or let's say if you have to show that something is done, or for let's say whatever reasons the person that has asked for would have is someone whom you're close with, whatever be the case, you have a lot of different parameters that will help you to prioritize this thing. So also one more case where you have 2-3 must have objects pending, but it's very complex, but you don't have a senior resource, you only have a junior resource, so you allocate would have or could have object for them. So things as such can happen. So it's always recommended to open your mind, be open on prioritizing and allocating the objects to the relevant people, team members. However, on the higher level, when you're taking, you as a project manager, when you're taking conversations with the customer project manager, you can take the concept of MSCW, or you can probably go with the generic concepts of high, medium, low complexity, what priority, not the complexity, priority ones. You follow what generally?
In the support project,
Yeah.
we have this change management. So there is priorities P1, P2, high, medium, critical.
Okay. High, medium, critical. All right.
Yes.
Okay. So prioritizing project backlog user story mapping as a prioritization technique. Now, assume, okay, I will put it this way. Assume you're coming out of the implementation. Okay. Now you're having already 50 objects that you had out of explore, because you were supposed to deliver only 50 before go live. That 50 is there. And while you were taking up different sessions like your training, UAT, end user training, you got 50 more. So in total, 100 is supposed to be delivered as part of your support phase, hypercare support phase. Okay, assume this is the case. In such cases, uh, you might have 100. However, you will be able to club few things together, right? So out of 100, one person would have proposed a change in one screen, one more person would have proposed a change in the same screen, similarly one more person in the same screen. So there might be three objects that is going to indicate the same functionality, either in the different screens, or in a single screen you might have three more additional requirements. So both cases are possible. So what is recommended is, when you are going to plan in your hypercare, you consolidate all of the 100, you segregate based on the business processes. If for example you are going to do some change in purchase order screen, if there are 4-5 requirements, you collate all those 4-5 requirements and allocate to a single developer, and that person will take care of all the developments at once, and you will be able to release that one by one, or in a single shot, one TR for all the 4 developments. So that depends on the urgency of the each of the requirements. However, for you to take up and prioritize, you can follow this concept. Instead of taking the 100 one by one, you can take the concept of mapping different requirements together under the same business process, and those business processes can be allocated to your team members to move things quickly. Okay. What is very I would say frustrating in SAP is, assume you are going to have a object that is being worked upon by a consultant. Okay, that object would have been logged in a TR by that consultant. What happens is, when you are having one more change, and if you are allocating that change for the same object, one more change to a different developer, the other developer cannot work. So at that time, only one consultant can work on an object for a change. Either the same guy can work on the different change, or you have to wait until that moves to production and then you can start implementing the next change. That's the challenge that you will have. So when you are going for hypercare, what is recommended is, you always collate requirements based on the business process level, based on the screens or whatever be the parameter. You club the requirements and pass it on to this developer, so that they'll do it together and release it at once. Okay. This is something that you have to take care of. Then, this is exactly what the technical dependencies. Okay, this is in terms of the dependencies. So let's say I'm going to build a custom program that is going to fetch some information, and that information is supposed to be stored in a Z table. As a functional consultant, I must be telling you what is the structure of the Z table so that you can build it. And once you build the Z table, then only you can populate the information and pull out a report out of that. So assume this is the case. You need to find out what are the different dependencies that you have and whether these dependencies are closed. Otherwise, you should not be taking the requirement. Meaning you should not be taking that particular object for development if the dependencies are not closed. Okay, it's all very generic things, only technical prerequisites and dependencies, same as how we usually do. No, in SAP we don't do story points. We do in terms of man days. Here they are saying it as person days, but we say man days. Man days are man months. When you're dealing with the large projects, we call it man months. When we're dealing with smaller objects within, we are going to talk about man days or man hours. So I might say, so I might say this object is going to take me 8 man hours.
Man hours.
Man hours.
And man days.
Man days, yeah. So this depends case to case on the organization, this thing. So in my previous organization, we used to call ETA. If you're going to ask for something, a target date.
Yeah, ETA. What's the ETA?
Yeah, no, other people, they call it ETC, estimated time of completion. So it's just that, jargons that will differ. However, the meaning is going to be the same. So we used to call man days. Here it is given as person days. Not necessarily the same has to be used across all the organizations. That differs, but it's the same. So when we say man day, person days, it means 8 hours per day. And I'm going to probably tell the customer that my object will take 8 man hours or 1 man day. And this includes the complete effort, a functional and technical effort. So out of this, maybe 6 hours technical might work, 2 hours functional might work. You got it, or you want me to explain?
Yeah, once again.
See, when I give effort against a user story or a object, I am going to tell in terms of man hours or man days, okay, as a whole. How do we split it is basically, how do you get that is basically, number one, you need to understand the scope. Number two, you need to know what modules are involved. If that is involving a functional consultant and a technical consultant, this means that you're going to have 2 people working for that object, right? In this case, number 1, for the functional consultant, he has to give the functional specification to the technical has to develop, and then the technical should test it, then the functional should test it, and then they have to deploy. Then UAT has to happen, then they have to deploy. So you're involving 2 guys, functional guy, technical guy. So the functional guy, assume, is going to spend 8 man hours. Then the technical guy is going to spend 16 man hours to complete this object. Okay.
Yeah.
In total, if you take 24 man hours is spent, correct? 8 by the functional guy, 16 by the technical guy. In total, 24 man hours.
Yeah.
This need not be 3 working days. This can be 2 working days also.
In a week.
Correct.
Okay.
So how you estimate is basically the number of hours that you spend by 2 different guys. So when a technical guy is developing something and testing it, the functional guy can also test it parallelly, right? So it can happen parallelly. The 24 hours that you have estimated can be consumed maybe in 2 days because you are running it parallelly.
Okay.
So the overall estimation will always be given in terms of total man hours. This includes the efforts that is going to be spent by both the technical guys and the functional guys.
Okay.
Okay, this is about estimation, the process that we generally follow in SAP. Okay, this is about some tips which you can go through later. Okay, then definition of done, and again definition of done for sprint, for release. It's the same. In our case, the acceptance criteria. For estimation, again, you have something called as planning poker. This does not work in SAP, but it's just to know. You know, what happens is you conduct an event wherein you will have multiple cards, okay, deck of cards that will have numbers like this. So if you're a team of 5, for a set requirement, everyone has to estimate. So I will say 3, you will say 5, you will say 8, someone will say 13. So it will start with the guy who said 13 because he is the highest estimator. He will say why he feels that he needs 13 hours to complete this activity. Then again, based on all these inputs, we are going for again a planning poker wherein we'll again estimate. Now maybe the guy who said 3 will say 8. Then the guy who said 5 might say 20 because he now understands there is too much of details. The guy who says 20 now will again say his justification why he says 20. So when all of us come together and align on 13, we will freeze that 13 is the total estimation for the activity. So this round will go on iterations until we arrive at a common point. So this is a planning poker. This is all theoretical, but you know, at least I have not seen any guy using this planning poker and stuff to. It's all self-organized now. So you give me an estimate, it works for me. That's all. That's how it is moving right now. You don't take this concept of planning poker to estimation. All of these are not happening. I see that few companies have moved towards you planning the sprint by yourself, you taking user stories by yourself, and you delivering and deploying by yourself. Now your manager is just going to see the progress. That's all. He is not going to come question you why you have not taken this, why you have not taken that. All of those stuff might happen in few cases, but most of the well-established organizations, the developers are themselves taking user stories. The manager's responsibility is just to make sure that they have sufficient user stories as in pipeline. Manager meaning product owner's responsibility. Okay, this is the same. Then how to use planning poker for SAP. So you can read through this. It's the same thing. The concept is going to be the same. You can read these cases probably later when you find some time. Expert, non-expert. This will be actually interesting when you read through. But in real time you won't use.
Yeah.
You see mandates, the one that I referred to. Okay, then anchoring estimates. Okay. These are all questions I think we basically ask as a project manager day in, day out. What is the time that you are seeing? What is the target date that you want? Then when are you going to share me the requirements? Okay, when can I expect BRD? These are all things that we ask when it comes to timeline. When it comes to functionality, what requirements should I take for the next release? Okay, there are 6. Out of this, what should I take for the current sprint? What should I move on? What can we delete? So these are all questions that we'll ask in terms of scope to a product owner. Okay, traditional methods and lean methods. So you see a difference between these two, right? The traditional methods is completely plan driven. If something is planned and agreed earlier, you go by the plan. You are not going to change anything. So requirements are going to be at the top, which means for the requirements that are existing, you plan your resources and you plan the dates. That is plan driven. It is going to be fixed. On the other side, when we talk about lean and agile, what do you have is only a resource and a date. What you're going to do is something that you will figure out as you move forward towards the release date.
Okay.
So for this release, what are we going to do is something that you plan by the end of the previous release.
Yeah.
Right. Then velocity. I think we discussed about this point. Velocity chart. What is the rate at which we are trying to complete the activities? It's the opposite of burn down chart basically.
Yeah.
Burn down says what is the what was the plan? How many have we completed? Burn down should move down, whereas velocity should always move up. So if you have any tools, you when you are executing projects, if you have the provision to look at these two, you should always be ensuring that velocity chart always moves up as you move towards the end of the project, and the burn down chart should always come down as we move towards the end of the project. These are all certain formulas. This again we don't use generally. Okay, sprint cycle. Okay, this is something we discussed. If you remember, build, firm up. So I was referring to three things. If you remember, most of the cases we actually do this. I mean, this is very aptly used in a support phase. However, in this thing also, in your implementation also, this can be used, where you are going to do the configuration uh, and then you're going to test everything in the in the development first, and then you move on, you go for this forms. I'm just trying to relate this infographic to our SAP. Okay. This becomes Epic X becomes your development system. Epic Y becomes your quality system. Okay, you had already done your configuration, assuming that you do your unit testing cycle 1, unit testing cycle 2 in development. You do a string testing. Now everything is ready. You move it to quality. You do a string testing 1 there. Sorry, you do a unit testing 1 there, unit testing cycle 2 there. Now everything is ready. Then you do a string testing. So now in quality, everything is working perfectly fine. Then you go for an integration testing with end-to-end process, both the things. Then you are going to go for UAT and sign off with the business. This is one case. Okay, I'm just trying to relate to a development in terms of landscape. The other case, can be out of 100 objects that we agreed, we are first delivering 50 objects, and the second 50 objects also supposed to be delivered, but we are just trying to focus on few processes that is going to be executed while we are doing the rest of the 50 objects. Assuming that way, you're going to do this, then you will release this for UAT. You're going to do the next 50 objects, you will release that for UAT. You will fix all the bugs. Then you do one more round of re-UAT, based on which you will take a sign off and move further. This can also be a case that we can adopt. Okay, when it comes to sprint cycle. So anyway, we can adopt a sprint cycle in SAP. However, it is just the approach that you want to take based on the complexity of the project.
Okay.
Okay, then No, this is in general sprint planning. You do sprint execution. You do four things, which is design, build, test, document for all the requirements, and you also conduct daily Scrum calls with your team. Then, based on that, you do a demo. Then, finally, after the demo, you do a retrospective. So once this is done, you move this to a. I mean, you're going to get a shippable product which you will deploy to the production after each sprint. A wish list is basically your product backlog.
So in your organization, do you take daily stand-up?
Yes, for sure. I mean, that's the best approach to keep moving forward and to make sure that we are always progressing as per the plan.
Yeah.
So my way of approach, at least, is going to be I will have, as I said, a issue log file, or if it's a tool, it's going to be better. I've had both the cases. I've had a customer who had a tool. I've had a
Mhm.
customer who had used our in-house tool. There was also one more customer who did not have both of this, so we had to have maintain an Excel sheet,
Okay.
issue log. Okay, in all of
So
these three cases, we sorry.
no, no, no. Carry on.
No, in all of these three cases, it's always recommended that you, as a project manager, assign the incoming requests to the relevant parties. You always make sure to update. I mean, you always make sure that uh, oversee that the consultants updates the status of the activities,
Mm.
whatever is pending or whatever is waiting for inputs from the business side, in process technical, in process functional, whether it's UAT, whether it's closed, whether it's cancelled, whether it's on hold, whether it's open yet to be taken, whether it's under testing. All of these things have to be maintained as status, individual statuses.
Yeah.
And my responsibility is to make sure that I have target dates planned, revised, and to keep check on a daily basis whether we can achieve that. And if there is something else that is priority coming up, a production issue coming up, you relieve the consultant from that object and you assign the production issue and you revise the date of that object. So by the end of the day, you send this report to the business, so they'll be aware. By the end of the week, you conduct a weekly meeting with the business, keep them updated. You send a weekly status report. By end of the month, you take a review. You tell them that we have achieved so far this much. This pending under your side. You take actions on these. So many things under UAT, you should take action. You put things on their side, and then you also try to communicate that we have done so far for this month, and you put a monthly status report. This is the usual cycle that I follow.
Mm. I think in our organization they did not implement this from the very beginning.
Yeah, no, it doesn't start from the organization for sure. If there is something that you can probably add up, if your organization permits, you must be starting that.
Yeah, but the consultants they are from the beginning, no, so they don't have the habit. I tried, but everyone were like, "Oh, why is she doing this? Why is she doing that?" The consultants have more hold than the project managers. What I have seen over here.
Maybe if I mean if that is the case, you'll have to live with it. You'll
Yeah,
have to find a better organization that will at least give you the required power.
yeah. Even I see in my husband's organization every day he has at 9 a.m. he has the stand up every day, which he cannot miss. So
No, that's basic in my opinion. If any organization has a position for project manager or let's say a scrum master, that's their job basically. So if you are pulling this out of project manager's responsibility, this means that you're just not making use of that position in your
they are
organization.
not making. Even I feel that they are not making use of my position. Of it. And sometimes because of that, there are escalations or there are backlogs. But
Yeah. So I mean, you cannot do anything about that. It's just you'll have to learn whatever that is possible there, and then you'll have to move on.
Yes.
Okay, so moving on, this is digital Scrum board. Basically, the same thing that we used to follow in the traditional methods. What is to do, what is completed, what is under testing. The same thing in Jira. You have statuses. Here it's Scrum board. That's all. Right? This is how it's generally is. Scrum boards back then, but now no one is using things as this. Right? Resource availability. So you can read through this. This is all very generic stuff. Uh, Now you can do the work remaining. This is the burn down chart. What is the backlog? Active user stories, task with what is taken, what is in progress, what is completed, testing done. So have you at least seen somewhere the Scrum board? I have not seen for sure.
No, no, no. Not in my real time. Not in. I haven't seen anywhere.
I've seen people using Jira, maintaining user stories, allocating story points, and all of those. Yes, I've seen, but I've not seen people
Yes, still.
using
Uh,
this Scrum board.
yeah, in my current organization, they are using Jira, and in my previous organization also they were using Jira. But in my husband's organization, they are using Azure board.
I mean, it must be the same functionality that Jira has.
Uh, it's little different. The look and feel is little different.
No, look and feel is fine, but the
Yeah,
conceptual things are
concepts
going to be the
remain
same.
same, yes, but even they are also not using boards, Kanban boards or Scrum boards, anything.
Okay, so they have just given it as a story as to how it will look. How in
Yeah,
day one, day two, day three, how it looks like.
I think maybe 10 years, 10, 15 years back, they must be using. But
Might be useful for understanding, but
mm,
backlog template. What I've done is I've extracted the list of most important templates from the roadmap here also. I've collated as a folder. I think I got around 20-25 files. Uh, will you, okay, I mean, how can I share it? Probably as a Google Drive link I can share. Or I can share all the documents at once through in your WhatsApp. Will that be okay?
yeah, anything is fine. If you
Okay.
share as a Google Drive also, that's fine. I can download and then you can.
Yeah, I'll say I can share it to you as a Google Drive folder in that case.
Mhm.
Let me see. I have it ready. I'll share it to you by tomorrow probably. Okay, then this is your solution readiness board. This is just your uh, way of tracking how much is completed, how much is not.
Mm.
You must have dashboards, right, in your Jira. Dashboards
Dashboards.
that will say how many incidents, how many change requests, uh,
Yeah.
and within incidents what met your SLA, what did not.
Hmm.
Then in CR, what is minor, what is major, what is in progress, what is completed. All of these dashboards. It's basically the same. Uh, this is in Solution Manager. However, it will be different in our case, which is in Jira.
So, solution manager, do you think any organization would be using it? Because you
Yes,
said.
yes, yes. They will be using. I mean, I have not worked, but I
Mhm.
know one of my colleague who was in an organization who had Solution Manager, and the entire project was executed through Solution Manager.
Oh, okay.
And you will have Solution Manager consultant who will be working with you. So it's not like you as a project manager should implement Solution Manager. That's a separate project by itself. They'll implement, and
Mm-hmm.
if you are someone who has previously used, it's very similar to using a Jira. Jira is going to be implemented by some partner to you, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to come in as a project manager and start using your Jira. You will just train me on that for 2 3 days. That's all. If I'm a real project manager who has had experience, I'll be able to adapt to it and use it for my real time project world.
Okay, so can we create projects and project plan in Jira?
There should be provision as far as I know.
Okay.
But I know that we can upload project plan into Jira, MS project plan into Jira. That much I'm aware. But I'm sure Jira should have project scheduling.
Right.
That's I think very pretty basic that Jira should be having. I have not used, to be honest. I only use MS projects when it comes to scheduling and project planning and all of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to support, yes, I have used Jira. And for developments, I have used Jira, where we that was not SAP, that was a different web application that we had to build, and we had to take the approach of user story points, and tasks and all of this stuff,
Mm-hmm.
sprints, and this is how we executed. So when we talk about user story points, sprints, and all of this, this will only come when we are doing a project for web application or any software development. It doesn't fall under SAP.
Okay.
This is daily stand up. Then scope, what we generally do. I mean, what's the scroll review, and who is responsible for what? I mean, product owner, they only review what is the functionality that we delivered. Then if there is any additional requirements, they'll give you. And then if there is some more additional things that we need to do out of the product that we develop, they'll add it to the backlog. This is their job. From our end, we only present what is done, and then we with the working system, we are just going to demonstrate and move it to production. That's the job of us during a sprint review. Sprint review in our case is going to be a demonstration session that we have.
Mm.
Scrum team retrospective again. I mean, it's the same what we discussed yesterday. Then keep doing these three. So what to keep doing? What did we do better this time? What did we not do? What should we stop? And what should we start doing it? So these three are the things that we will discuss for any retrospective. Okay, then comes testing and deploy. This is all the testings that can happen in your SAP.
Mm-hmm.
Completely. So this is in terms of assessment. This usually we don't do. Testing strategy, which we already discussed. Testing plan. In our case, we build both the things as same document. Testing plan and strategy. Then unit testing, string testing, test case development, data migration testing. Then you have security testing, which is for the roles, integration testing,
Mm-hmm.
UAT, technical testing. That's all. This is pretty much what we covered in the work stream that we discussed, testing work stream.
Okay, what is regression testing?
A regression is like you have something that is already working, you're implementing a change. And when I'm implementing the change, I have to ensure that the older functionalities are not getting impacted, right? That goes under regression testing.
Okay. Integration and string are the same.
No, string might be, as I said, a purchase request, purchase order, goods inward, invoicing. These are four things. When I tested PR, PO, goods inward, these are going to be unit test. When I tested PR, PO, then as a whole, I put a PR, I convert that PR to a PO. For that PO, I'm going to invert. For that invert that I've done for that PO, I'm going to invoice. This forms a string testing process. Integration testing is when I do a stock invert, inventory valuation in finance should get increased. This becomes integration testing. That should happen properly. So one module integrating with other module becomes an integration testing.
Okay.
And then
Mm-hmm.
there's one more case wherein SAP getting integrated with other third-party application becomes integration testing.
Okay.
Yeah, you wanted to ask something?
Yeah, I wanted to ask, and in the string testing, we do it within the module.
Within the module, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, then cutover and transition plan. I've added the cutover document also to our list. I mean, you can go through that when I share you the link.
Mm.
Pretty much I think dominantly we have covered everything. It's a summary, whatever we discussed so far. Same thing. Anything? I mean, it's just a key points that whatever we discussed in the last 20 odd pages. 30% method, 70% mind change. I mean, have you heard this class? Agile is a mindset.
I think I have heard. Yes.
Yeah. So Agile is, I mean, there'll be Agile coaches. There'll be positions for Agile coaches.
Yeah, but I don't think so nowadays anyone have all those
There's
things.
no one. Probably in the next, couple of years, you will never hear someone
Agile also.
called Scrum Master also as a
Yeah,
position.
yeah.
So that's all getting managed. That's all getting automated. So
Mhm.
that's the specific reason. We have almost come the end. That's the specific reason why I emphasize you to get into the technical stuff, because what you are doing as a project manager, we are just trying to bridge people, resolve conflicts as of now,
Yeah.
right? With the emerging technologies and AI and all of those stuff,
Mm-hmm.
what is supposed to be done as a project involving two project managers can be done by one project manager. The same guy can do Scrum. The same guy can preach Agile. The same guy can execute the project also.
Mm-hmm.
That, which means you are going to have very limited number of positions which is open for pure project management, PMO. What will probably open further is a combination of project manager along with any other skill, which means you will have to be very technically sound on SAP. You must be able to navigate through SAP. You must have understand nuances of what has to be done to achieve the results. You must be able to talk and give solutions within the tool. And then you can also do project management. This only if you are part of this area, you'll be able to survive.
Okay. So in order to achieve that, what else should I do? Like I have done Activate. I understand how the project management in SAP works.
Correct.
So in order to get into the modules, what should I do?
No, first thing, you learn the concepts of all the modules.
Okay.
Okay. If your company is only into SF for
Yeah.
now,
Yes.
you take SF first and study all of this. I mean, you study meaning
Like
you must be able
self
to understand
study.
the entire process flow. Like I told you, I asked you to prepare for HR. You remember? HCM. You prepared and told me
Mhm.
these are all
Yeah.
different processes that can happen. You must be
Yes.
able to talk that language completely on the business process level. That is number one. Number two, you must be able to know, you must be able to log in and navigate into success factors. For you to do a configuration, you must be able to know where do you do that, what to do. I mean, you need not know how to configure. That's something different.
Mhm.
That's the consultant's job. Where
Mhm.
to configure, how to configure, whether we can configure, all these are something that you need to be aware. For that, you need to start using the product. This is number one. For you to future proof yourself, you probably have to get into S4 HANA also. You cannot manage with success factors, because when you
Mhm.
go for implementation projects, you are going to get a combination of success factors and S4 HANA when it's a greenfield.
Okay.
So you must be aware of S4 HANA principles also. What is an SPRO? How do we configure? What are the different system landscapes? How do we move from one system to another? What are all things that can be done by a consultant within SAP? What is out of scope? what is standard, what is non-standard. This all comes by experience. This all comes by the number of, amount of time that you spend with the system. Okay, for sure, it's not something can be achieved in let's say a year or so. Even I don't know a lot of things. For me to remember how to do this, I have to go either do ChatGPT or Google, find out, and then I go talk to them about that before a call. So I'll have to prep myself before I enter into a call.
Okay, so will self-study work or should I enroll for any training?
Self-study only will work.
Okay.
Now for Activate, this is your job basically.
Yeah.
So you got into a course, you studied this.
Yes.
If you want, you can get into success factors as a, you know, but I don't recommend going into the course
Mm.
because they'll tell you information which are too deep about that product, which is not required for you. You need not dump yourself with so much of information. Instead, I would recommend go through the very basic videos that is available on YouTube and read through many technical documentations that is available online.
Okay. Because in
Tutorials
success,
point itself will help you. Tutorials point
okay, in
for S4HANA
success,
modules.
uh, because in success factors there are so many modules, and like we have EC, onboarding, recruiting, compensation,
That's why I'm
and
saying you need
yeah.
to know only the basic of the process. For recruitment, what are all the different functionalities that I can do?
Mm.
If you learn this basic, in terms of configuration, everything is going to be the same. Meaning, the way that you do configuration is going to be the same. So, I'm not telling you to learn recruitment and keep yourself updated. That's not required. When you're getting into a project where you're going to implement recruitment, at that point, dive deep, get to know about everything about recruitment. That's okay. But for now, as a base, how it is configured in SPR, in success factors, what are the different basic functionalities available, what is standard, what is non-standard, what is to be customized, then what are the different modules, what processes those modules has, what are the different sub-modules. Only this is sufficient for you on a very high level.
Okay. So I think I should take some Udemy courses first.
Yeah, Udemy should help. Udemy should help for sure.
Mm.
Or YouTube courses are also available. I've seen courses in YouTube where success factors is being explained for 4 or 5 hours. That
Mm.
itself should be sufficient. Success
Oh,
factors. Then you take example any demo. You put SF LMS demo. You will get
oh,
1 hour video.
okay.
So by that you will know what is the end-to-end cycle. That's all.
Mm.
You make notes, and if you start looking into that one by one, because the more you keep in touch with those particular modules, only then you'll remember. Otherwise, you'll forget. So I've done implementation for a manufacturing sector like 2 3 years back. So today, what I remembered at that point, if you ask me today, I'll not remember. So again, I'll have to refresh myself because today I'm doing some for some other customer. I know about
Yeah.
this customer. So it's a continuous process. What I'm saying, you need not dump yourself with or take the load of trying to understand all the modules at once. Is what I'm saying. You take it one by one.
Okay. One more question. Like
Yeah.
for the implementation project, what if I plan to, uh, experience hands-on from third party, like the ones who actually, there are so many in the market who says that they will give hands-on experience on the implementation project. So will that help?
Um, how is that being framed? Because I'm at least this is the first time that I'm hearing this. I know it's there for consultants, but project managers, I'm not really sure. How do you have hands-on? Because project management itself means you're going to talk to your team, you're going to talk to customer, you're going to manage the stakeholders. That's the major part of your job. So when someone cannot introduce you as a project manager to the customer, to the team, How do
Mm-hmm.
you get hands-on?
Yeah. Okay, no, I just got to know, so I thought of asking you first. Like,
It will not work out, to be honest.
mm,
Maybe that can help you on a very short um, level, but I don't think that will probably give you the amount of confidence you would need to execute a project yourself. That will come when you're full time with a senior project manager. What is the best approach? I would say is you go shadow a senior project manager who is executing a project.
mm-hmm.
You will learn, then slowly you take small projects and you scale big. That's how at least I have done. That's the opportunities that I got. Again, it depends on the organization and the opportunities that you get in your organization.
Mm. I think this is the best approach. I'll ask someone senior.
Yeah, you shadow. I mean, you take
Yeah,
it as an additional responsibility. It's fine. You just
yeah.
tell them that you want to be exposed to
Mm-hmm.
such projects, and then you try to get into the scrum calls. You try to get into the conversations. You be part of the group. You check the conversations they are taking. You check the documents they are preparing. You check the activities they are doing one by one. You check the project plan. All of this, if you do, you'll be able to relate to what we are trying to say. And then when you continue yourself with the studies of S4 HANA modules and SF modules, then you will probably progress better. And when you get opportunity, you can scale yourself. Okay.
Yes.
So tomorrow, I think we will